The Hamas terrorist organization is doing everything to break the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. Hamas terrorists infiltrated beyond the yellow line in the Gaza area at least twice in the last 24 hours alone, and the IDF eliminated a cell of tunnel holdouts in Rafah, where Hamas sources claim to be having difficulties in searching for the remains of the fallen hostages. Footage has also emerged of celebrations for the Izzadin al-Qassam brigades as prices in Gaza have plummeted, but Hamas still keeps a control on the transactions and collects taxes. And meanwhile, the United States is preparing to establish a large military base near the Gaza area, but the White House says that the matter has not yet been approved, and a dead end appears to have been reached when it comes to disarming Hamas in Gaza. That's not the only problem. The entire 20-point outline of President Donald Trump originally laid out for the ceasefire in Gaza is close to collapse, and Israel and America are looking at alternative plans for Gaza's future. And speaking of the future, Saudi Arabian Crown Prince is expected to meet with President Donald Trump next week to discuss Gaza and also to discuss the Abraham Accords. But that's not the only meeting about the future of Gaza that is happening right now. After being brought in through the back door to the base in Kiryat Gat in Israel, Abu Shabab, a Palestinian opposition leader in the Gaza Strip, receives from the Americans the grand prize in Gaza as the Zikim crossing opened for the transfer of the humanitarian aid. But it's not all good news, as then in the United Arab Emirates, they are worried that Hamas supporters are becoming dominant. The bottom line is that on all fronts, the ceasefire agreement is losing ground. So welcome to Boots on the Ground. I'm your host, Yair Pinto, and this is the weekend edition of everything that slipped through the cracks and through the headlines this week. So today, we will focus on the stories that we missed throughout this week so that you will have all the information regarding Israel, its neighbors, and how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. As you can see, I'm coming to you from our car, just making sure that you know that I'm not driving. We have Mati Shoshani with me.
Hey there.
The best driver in Israel.
The best driver in this car.
Most concentrated driver. So let's get back into the news. So President Trump and its peace plan is stuck in a dead end as the American administration is setting ambitious goals, but with no practical utility, while Hamas is rebuilding and rearming. So no Arab state is willing to enter into a direct confrontation with the Hamas terrorists, which still holds hundreds of kilometers of tunnels and thousands of armed terrorists in its side of the Gaza Strip, while Washington struggles to find an actor that will agree to risk its soldiers in direct military confrontation with Hamas. And meanwhile, the White House Special Envoy Jared Kushner said in recent days that he's working on a plan that is Plan B in case that the current plan will fail. On the ground in the Gaza Strip, there is increasing friction between the IDF and Hamas, including the elimination of about 10 terrorists, 3 of them in the Rafah area, where an estimated 200 terrorists are in tunnels. And according to a report in Lebanon, Israel and the United States are discussing moving Hamas terrorists from Rafah to a third country, but no state has agreed to accept them, and Egypt has raised reservations about the American outline to end the fighting in Gaza. And meanwhile, there are conflicting reports about the possibility of a large temporary military base being built near the Gaza Strip to host up to 10,000 troops that will monitor the ceasefire agreement. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt claimed that the document that revealed this is of no significance. And at the same time, the IDF Chief of Staff delivered remarks at the President's residence this week, committing not to rest on the successes and announcing that a heavy price will be exacted from any Hamas violation of the agreement. In economic news, following the entry of aid into the Gaza Strip with the start of the ceasefire, Market prices have dropped significantly, but Gazans report tight Hamas control of the market and also tax collection and currency manipulation. But Hamas is not the only game in town. After being brought in through the back door to the base in Kiryat Gat in Israel, Abu Shabab, a leader of a Palestinian opposition group in Gaza, received from the Americans the grand prize in the Gaza Strip. Speaking of meetings, after the smiles visit of Syria's interim president Abu Muhammad al-Julani in the United States and his meeting with President Trump in Israel, eyes are on next week's expected meeting between Trump and the Saudi Prime Minister. On the agenda will be Gaza and the Abraham Accords. So we have a lot to talk about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report, where we bring you all the truth about what's happening in Israel, and we are coming to you today from the United States of America, in Texas. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is Mati Shoshani.
Shalom, y'all.
So a moment before we begin, I want to call on you and keep helping us spread the truth, share, follow us, and the most important thing that you can do is make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. So we'll start today's report with a small sample from the last few days of how the terrorist organization Hamas is deliberately violating the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip in order to keep Israel in an attack posture. IDF forces operated again on Wednesday to destroy the tunnels in Rafah, including those in which an estimated 200 terrorists are trapped. And in at least 2 separate incidents, the soldiers identified terrorists close to them and opened fire. In the first incident, the IDF spokesperson announced that an IDF tank struck 2 military positions of the Hamas terrorist organization in the northern Gaza Strip area. The strike was carried out in response to launches that were carried out earlier towards Israeli territory. Before that, the forces identified 4 terrorists near them and immediately fired at them. There were no casualties amongst the IDF troops in either of the incidents. And meanwhile, the IDF announced the elimination of a terrorist who crossed the yellow line and approached the IDF forces that are operating in the Khan Yunis area in Gaza in a manner that posed an immediate threat to them. And across the Gaza Strip as a whole, about 10 terrorists were eliminated on Wednesday alone, and according to the IDF spokesperson, who added that IDF forces under the Southern Command are deployed in the area in accordance with the agreement and will continue to act to remove any immediate threat. And in a related news, a source in the Political Security Cabinet said this week that a compromise was formulated between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Jared Kushner, the envoy and the son-in-law of United States President Donald Trump, regarding the deportation of some 200 terrorists that are stuck in the tunnels in Rafah. According to this source, under the compromise that is being discussed, Israel is to allow the deportation of the terrorists unharmed. There's just one problem so far. No country, including Turkey and Qatar, have agreed to receive them, and I can't blame them. The source noted that under Trump's original plan, Hamas terrorists could receive amnesty for their actions only if they handed over their weapons and pledged not to return to terror, and only after the return of all the fallen hostages. In the absence of an agreed solution, it was reported that Kushner promised an alternative outline under which the terrorists would be allowed to move to an area in the Gaza Strip that is controlled by Hamas after they hand over their weapons. And according to the reports, the proposal deviates with a broader American initiative to establish a demilitarized zone in the southern parts of the Gaza Strip, a move intended to stabilize the arrangement after a ceasefire and to prevent a resumption of the fighting. The Prime Minister's office did not respond to the request for a comment on all of these developments. And to recall, about 200 terrorists are confined in the IDF enclave in the Janina neighborhood in Rafah, and Hamas seeks to release them to the Palestinian side of the yellow line. This is only part of the hundreds of thousands of residents and terrorists who remain between the border with Israel and the withdrawal line of Stage A in the ceasefire agreement. And Washington is pressing Israel to allow safe passage for the terrorists in the tunnels, with one of the solutions under the consideration being that those terrorists would surrender and lay down their weapons, and in return receive amnesty or be deported, while at the same time the tunnels in which they are hiding would be destroyed completely. And meanwhile, the IDF is trying to exploit the window of opportunity to destroy the tunnels in this wide corridor, even though such actions can sometimes lead to deadly encounters between the two sides. And in the Bnei Suwaila enclave, a suburb of Khan Yunis, as well as in other enclaves on the Israeli side of the Yellow Line, there is a concentration of several dozens, often many dozens of Hamas operatives, in addition to the 200 in the Rafah enclave. So the IDF Chief of Staff, Eyal Zamir, recommended to the political echelon this week to eliminate all of them and to continue locating terror tunnels in those two focal areas. In addition, the London-based post-Saudi newspaper Ashrak al-Awsat reported on Wednesday, citing sources in the Gaza Strip, that one of the 4 fallen hostages is held by Hamas, another by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad organization, and the remaining 2 others are in an area under Israeli control east of the Yellow Line. And according to the sources, there is a great difficulty in completing the locating of the fallen who remain in the Gaza Strip, and this will take a very long time. Also, in accordance with approval by the political echelon, starting on Wednesday, the Zikim border crossing between Israel and the Gaza Strip has been opened for the entry of aid trucks into the Gaza Strip. The aid will be transferred by the United Nations and international organizations after strict security screening by the Land Crossing Authority of the Ministry of the Defense of Israel. And here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on every development in this matter, and now we will move to the military base that the United States is apparently planning to build adjacent to the Gaza Strip, and what stands behind all these reports. But first of all, if you are riveted up to this point, give a click to the like button, leave a comment, and of course, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you receive daily boots on the ground videos from us here at TBN Israel. And now I want to talk to you for just a moment about a blessing that has kept me going through more than 2 years of war. Many Israelis are still juggling the reserve duty while trying to get back to work and handle their day-to-day lives. It's not easy. Your body is tired, your mind's overloaded, and the pressure doesn't stop when the uniform comes out. I've been there, coming back home from reserves, trying to be present for my family, catching up at work, while still feeling like I'm in a survival mode. It takes strength, energy, and faith to push through. And that's why I started using Vinya. It's an Israeli supplement made from red grape cells that helps improve the blood flow to your heart, brain, and muscles. For me, that meant better focus, more energy, and fewer days of that foggy, burnt-out feeling. So I started using it during my reserve duty, and I'm still using it today. And I like the coffee version and also the tea version. Some people go for both of them or for the pills. So if you want to give it a try for yourself, go to vinyatbnisrael.com or call 800-638-1944. Again, that's vinyatbnisrael.com or call 800-638-1944. So faith helped me stay grounded, and Vinya helped me stay sharp. Now, getting back into the news, senior political officials in Jerusalem say that Washington faces a strategic predicament ahead of implementing the second stage of Trump's peace plan in the Gaza Strip. In their assessment, senior administration officials are beginning to understand that there is no Arab or international actor that is capable of dismantling the Hamas terrorist organization of its weapons without entering into a direct confrontation with Hamas. Also, despite the intensive contacts led by the United States, no formula has yet been found to resolve the issue of dozens of Hamas terrorists that are trapped in tunnels in the southern parts of the Gaza Strip under the Israeli control. So resolving this issue is not officially considered part of the second stage of the implementation of this agreement, but it constitutes a precondition for it. Hamas has also not yet returned all the bodies of the 4 fallen who remained on its hand, and therefore progress towards implementation of the second stage of the agreement is delayed. So what do all of you think about this? Do you think that an international force can deal with Hamas? Or do we need IDF boots on the ground in Gaza to do it ourselves? Let me know. So, one of the central questions with which the American administration is now grappling is the identity of the actor who will actually dismantle Hamas's military wing, collect the weapons, and destroy the vast tunnel array that remains in the Gaza Strip. Furthermore, senior security officials say that Hamas still holds hundreds of kilometers of underground tear tunnels, some of which are unknown to Israel. And Defense Minister Israel Katz acknowledged this week that Hamas retains control of about 60% of the tunnels that it had before October 7, 2023, and is exploiting the ceasefire to restore some of the tunnels that are destroyed by the IDF, and has brought equipment into some of them to manufacture more rockets and mortar shells. Furthermore, Hamas's fighting force today comes to approximately 20,000 armed terrorists. Additional complex problems facing the administration include the composition of the international force that is supposed to deploy in the Gaza Strip, as the United Arab Emirates refuses to participate in this force, and other countries such as Egypt and Jordan feel participating lest their soldiers be tasked with forcibly confronting Hamas, which refuses to disarm. Israel strongly opposes the deployment of thousands of Palestinian Authority security personnel in the Gaza Strip, and in any case, at this stage, the draft resolution to establish the force and its authorities is stuck in the United Nations Security Council in light of the many disagreements on this issue. The Palestinians are also not at this stage managing to reach agreements amongst all factions on the compromisation of a committee that will manage the day-to-day life in the Gaza Strip. I will take a breath and quickly say that it is important that you spread the truth, so share our content and let's continue. According to sources in Lebanon, Washington, and Tel Aviv are examining the possibility of integrating Yasser Abu Shabab in civil or security roles as part of the new management mechanism for the Gaza Strip. This is a guy in charge of a Palestinian militia that opposes Hamas in the Rafah area. Abu Shabab faces extensive public opposition from local residents who doubt his legitimacy and his ability to serve as the stabilizing actor on the ground after the end of this war. And according to those reports, Washington and Jerusalem are trying to formulate an outline that will prevent further deterioration and will allow the continuation of contacts for a long-term arrangement between the two sides. And here at TBN Israel, we will continue to bring you the truth day by day of what's happening in Israel. So if you want to help us, leave a comment, click the like, and make sure to subscribe to TBN Israel on YouTube. And now, we're keeping our focus on the Gaza Strip, but shifting slightly to the international developments. The White House yesterday tried to calm the storm that broke out around the reports of American plans to establish a temporary military base near the Gaza Strip, but details that have emerged indicate that the United States Navy is already moving in that direction, and at the end of last month approached certified contractors with a request to estimate the costs for building a massive base that would house 10,000 people for 12 months. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, clarified that the United States administration has not yet approved the establishment of the temporary military base near the Gaza area, and dismissed the leaked document and described it as just a one-page paper prepared by random people in the military. However, details published by the Bloomberg paint a different picture as the United States Navy has already approached several certified contracting companies with a request to estimate the costs of establishing a self-contained temporary military operations base capable of supporting 10,000 people and providing 10,000 square feet of office space for 12 months. It is important to note that requests for information and price quotes are not an official solicitation and do not guarantee a future contract, but they offer a glimpse into what federal agencies are preparing to carry out through private companies. According to the particulars laid out in this request, the contractor would be required to provide an integrated, ready-to-use solution, meaning that it would handle every aspect of construction and running the base, including providing 3 meals a day for all 10,000 people on this base, and taking care of water, waste, generating and supplying electricity, and laundry services, a reliable communications network, a medical clinic, and other amenities. Additionally, the base would need to have a comprehensive security plan that includes procedures for access control, threat response, incident reporting, and mass casualty event response. The companies certified for this contract are part of a procurement pathway called WEXMAC, administered by the United States Navy and Supply Systems Command. The same pathway was recently used to build up a 5,000 bed tent camp at a military base in El Paso, Texas, with a contract worth of $1.26 million. The proposed base near Gaza is apparently meant to support an international stability force for the Gaza Strip. Two people that are familiar with the matter told the El Arabiya media portal that the United States is seeking international backing for a proposal to send foreign forces to Gaza to help secure the fragile ceasefire between Israel and the Hamas terrorist organization that was signed last month. An American official who asked to remain anonymous said the request represents an initial planning step to establish a possible base in southern Israel for the International Stability Force. United States Central Command spokesperson Tim Hawkins previously clarified that the United States military is working with the international military and the partners to develop potential options for basing the international forces that will be part of the International Stability Force in the Gaza Strip, but emphasized that no American forces will be deployed in the Gaza Strip itself. Meanwhile, the IDF's foreign media spokesperson, Nadav Shoshani, was asked about the possibility of building a large American base on the border of the Gaza Strip and replied that we are working hand in hand with the Americans and various partners regarding the future of the Gaza Strip, and there are different ideas that are on the table right now. And here, at TBN Israel, we will continue to spread the truth, and we invite you to be part of the team by sharing our content with as many people as possible. It really matters because it helps us with the YouTube algorithm to get this content out there to more people around the world. Now, moving to the economic issues, hundreds of aid trucks enter the Gaza Strip every day, and prices have plummeted by dozens of percentage points. But one thing hasn't changed: who controls the money? Hamas has re-established its power through the market, collecting taxes, controlling distribution, and managing the currency. Thus, the real power remains in the hands of those who decide how much everything will cost and how much of it will reach the population at all. At first glance, it looks like Gaza is recovering as markets are full again, goods are available, and prices have dropped at a rate not seen since the beginning of this war. A kilo of sugar that cost 250 shekels during the fighting is sold today for just 20 shekels, $5. An egg has fallen from 11 shekels, $3.50, to just $2, half a dollar. And even bread, which was scarce, has returned to the markets. A single pita cost about 10 agorot, like 3 cents. However, behind the low prices stand an economic reality that is tightly managed. Hamas controls the circles of trade and the flow of currency, collects taxes from merchants, and supervises the market prices through its mechanisms. The aid that comes in is sold in the markets at supervised prices by the terrorist organization. Thus, even when food prices fall, the control remains in Hamas's hands, and Gazans continue to pay the price in other ways. Hamas continues to collect money in every possible way. One Gazan resident said that Hamas is still demanding rent for the lands where tents for the displaced are being set up and invent new ways to get money. It's clear that there is an understanding between merchants and Hamas because Hamas controls the situation in Gaza. In Gaza, they attest to a reality that seems normal on the surface, but beneath the surface, it is a carefully staged show. The markets in Gaza are like a theater when the audience is a public audience, but the set of goods, prices, and relative plenty has been built entirely by Hamas. They direct the scenes, and they also decide when the curtain rises and when it falls. So, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on everything that's happening in the Gaza Strip, and we will break the lies that are spread by the anti-Israel organizations that present reality in a distorted way. So, follow the truth, press the subscribe button, make sure to follow us on social media accounts, Yair, Pinto, and Mati Shoshani. Only follow official accounts. So, thanks for the support, guys. And now, we shift our focus to the meeting of the interim president of Syria, Abu Muhammad al-Julani, with the United States President Donald Trump at the White House. Even as Israel focused on the diplomatic political side and the security implementations of next week's summit between Saudi Arabia's Prime Minister, Mohammed bin Salman, and the United States President. These meetings focused on several issues that are related to the future of the Middle East and to the future of the president's standing in the entire world. According to a political source in Israel, Saudi Arabia is coming to the meeting with suitcases of money to purchase everything from nuclear reactors, F-35s, aircrafts, advanced F-15EX, missile defensive systems, strike systems, and more. In return, the Saudis may rapidly boost the American economy. And the second issue on the table concerns shaping the Middle East. The central question is whether the Saudis will agree to move forward on two tracks. First, taking economic and political responsibility for what happens in the Gaza Strip, and the day after, with the United States wanting Saudi Arabia, considered moderate, to take part and stand as a central force in the Gaza Strip itself. The second track is expanding the Abraham Accords and bridging Saudi Arabia into this agreement, which would lead to bringing additional countries, including Syria, into this accord. And in the political system, the assessment is that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is waiting for the results of Tuesday's meeting. All this in light of coalition crisis around the conscription law calling on Orthodox in Israel to join the IDF, and the timing of the elections alongside IDF moves in the Gaza and in the northern arenas. We can only pray for the future and ask for peace in the Middle East, and that is exactly what we'll do together. Let's pray for the people of Israel. So continue to share the truth and follow us. And the most important thing that you can do is pray, but make it personal. Pray for the IDF soldiers, pray for the leadership of Israel, pray for your leaders that are involved in this situation here in the Middle East. Pray for all the innocent lives that are affected by these conflicts, and make sure that you pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Thank you for being with me. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is Mati Shoshani, our driver for today.
Your chauffeur for today.
And make sure to pray for us to reach our destination safely, because we are very tired and jet-lagged. Thank you so much, guys.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.